Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the individual guests or creators and do not necessarily represent the views of their employers, business partners, affiliates, or advertisers. Any opinions, advice, or statements made on this podcast are not intended to be taken as fact or professional advice. Please consult a qualified professional before making any decisions based on the content of this podcast.
Hi everybody, welcome to Untapped Azania. My name is Maureen, the even the queen, the even the princess, or Pinduro, the answer, whichever one you prefer. Welcome to another episode of Untapped Azania. I do not chill alone. I chill with the one and only
Mashudu.
How you doing, Mashudu?
I'm fresh and my fresh just gets fresher.
What's the mood? What's the temperature?
You know,
my
the
dog?
diamonds in production are glowing greater than the pressure.
Ooh, I love that. Welcome to another episode once again. If you're new here, please like, subscribe. Let us know what you've been tapped into so we can tap into that as well. If you're returning, you know the drill. Like, subscribe. Let us know what you've been tapped into as well. But without wasting any time, my dog, what have you been tapped into?
So I came across this article recently by Business Tech.
Okay.
And the title was "The Rand Should Be Trading at 7 Rand to the Dollar."
I saw
right?
that as well, yeah.
And it was all embedded on a lecture that the Reserve Bank governor was giving at, I forgot what it's called, but Khalima Mutlante's foundation. He was giving a lecture there, and he outlined that the Rand should be trading at about 7 Rand to the dollar. Apparently, there was also a report that was released by the World Bank that also outlined that last year the Rand should have been trading at about 7 Rand 40 cents to the dollar. And
Damn.
at that point, it was trading at 18 Rand 30 cents,
Damn.
something like that. But 18 Rand something versus 7 Rand something, right? And I mean, I'm not sure if we touched on the whole saga that the Competition Commission did bring up around the 28 banks that were implicated,
the
some of which
rand
are like
rigging.
the Rand rigging saga.
It's in the corn court now. So
Yeah. So I was thinking about that, thinking about the implications, not even at a macro level, bro, at like the most minuscule level. I mean, I saw a video of
For
someone.
those who don't like big English, this is the simple explanation. So allegedly, the banks realized they were not making enough money competing with each other. Because if one bank is saying 5 Rand, the other bank will say no, 3, and the other one will say 2, and the first one will go back to 1. Then they realize, no man, we're not making money because we're trying to compete with each other too much. So they said, guys, let's come together. Let's make it higher, very high, than the value, and keep it all at the same level, so regardless, whoever gets the customer, we all benefit. Now it's just about who has the better marketing. Which means it affects everyone as a whole because we're technically being ripped off. Because the company said this is the value, but we're going to bring it here collectively so that everyone benefits, whoever gets the customer. To put it into perspective, Hennessy will be 200 Rand. The vape that you are buying weekly for 200 and 400 and something will be for my 80, 50, 60 bucks there. Is it not like 25 actually? Anyway, you get the point.
Video of someone that was like dumbing it down to like, yo, you're paying whatever amount for Hennessy and you could have been paying this amount for a bottle of Hennessy, which brings it back to like the layman, you know, for someone to actually understand the implications of something like that, you know, at the macro, your iPhone could have been way cheaper. So I've been thinking about that. Also, in the article, they had also outlined that, and I'm sure this is something Kganyago had spoken about there, that we use the free floating exchange rate, and we've been using it for years now, right? And he was hinting at a possible change in that. So the free floating exchange rate is based off of the private market, so supply demand, right? A fixed exchange rate is set by the central bank. So I think they thinking about perhaps a shift because of the extent to which the markets are manipulated and what the private markets or demand supply dynamics dictate isn't necessarily representative of where we sit as an economy. yeah, so that's something I've been tapped into. So I'd love to hear your thoughts
That's
on
an
that.
interesting chat, especially because there is a case currently that's in the Concord, actually, just digging into that. I guess if you haven't seen it, there is a case that implicates multiple banks. They've been accused of rigging the rand. I think it's between 2011 and 2017. It's a while ago, but something like that did happen. Some banks have admitted to doing it. I think JP Morgan or Citibank have admitted to kind of rigging the rand, which is a crazy thing to think about. There's multiple banks that have been obviously been to the competition tribunal, have been saying no, they did no such thing, they know nothing of that, it's unfounded. They had won the case at the competition tribunal appealed the case and eventually just landed in the constitutional court. And it's an interesting thing to think about if you're thinking about how something so small, I mean, you talk about your phones and stuff. That's like if you're buying an iPhone, but like a Samsung, which is quite an affordable phone, or supposed to be, it has a great range of phones that are supposed to be affordable, could be much, much cheaper. That means that a layperson could access like features that are mostly more advanced than they currently are accessing. If they're content creators, they could be creating better content. They could be getting more revenue. They could be getting more money just simply because of that. If you think about it, if you're traveling, right, the rand could be much stronger. You could be able to travel a little bit more. You could be able to see things a little bit more. I know somebody very close to me who, I mean, this is not the dollar, but the pound. He was in England for a while, I think 3 weeks. And he was like, it is so expensive to be specifically in London compared to be in South Africa. And I can imagine for somebody that was doing it for educational purposes, right? What value they could have gotten if they had just stayed longer and things like that. And it also speaks to how the rest of the world sees us. Because to me, just simply, it's almost as if people sat down and they're like, what could we, what could they be trading on? And then they come up with an amount, and then everybody else, we all adhere to that. And it speaks to also just BRICS. When is BRICS coming along to actually form to form policies and like things that we can actually use as an advantage in the international market, right? We already have this platform that exists. Where is, I mean, there was talks a bit earlier on, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where people were talking about creating a currency that actually works within countries that are participants of BRICS, and with how that could be strong and how that would affect America and things like that. So those chats, I think we should be having a lot more of. But also, it kind of brings you back to be like, what runs the system that we think our world runs on? Like, we measure our rand against the dollar. Who actually decides? How does that actually work?
Yeah, I think, you said so many
I
things.
did.
But like BRICS,
Sorry.
with BRICS, I think part of the problem is most countries are half in, half out. You look at South Africa, you look at India, for example. Our relationship with the West, is cozy.
Yeah.
And then we want to cozy up with Russia and China. So I think that hampers growth in terms of just implementing some of the key features that will make BRICS stand out. We the G20 is coming up.
Yeah.
We are heading the G20 right now. What does that mean? What are the implications of us being so important in the G20 and still being part of BRICS? I think that plays a significant role. Something else you touched on just around the rand being so undervalued is, I think that is the most important aspect, like the bandwagon effect of it, the implications of having people afford less than what they deserve to be affording, right? Like, a content creator could be creating better content. An academic could have access to better research. Just an eclectic type individual who's explorative has a greater opportunity to travel the world and experience different cultures, and that's been hampered. Time is a commodity, and time is money. So all that time is gone. So
your time is being priced less than what it's supposed to be priced at.
Yeah.
And I think, you see, this is why I like you, Mesh. You know how to to put things in ways that are more adjustable. Like, yes, that's exactly what I mean. That like the smallest thing, it has like a chain reaction that could flow into a lot more things, right? And we're not engaging enough in that content.
Yeah, and we're also not angry enough.
Yeah.
There's
We say that a lot, but we're actually really not angry.
No.
We're not angry enough.
I mean, I've been checking out the comments of these posts to do with the shutdown.
Yeah.
And more people are half out than the people that are half in.
Yeah. But I get it. Because you're asking people to shut down the country, right? And this has no corporate buy-in, right? In itself, it's the standalone.
It's actually anti-corporate,
right? So you are asking people to leave the thing that feeds them and go join a march. Like, that is not an easy decision for every other South African to make. It's a very difficult decision to make, because what are the implications of me missing work today and go joining a strike somewhere?
You could lose your livelihood.
Which is different to what happened with the Jacob Zuma march, because it seems as though corporate was
a part of it.
And a lot of people...
You're raising an interesting point.
The how train kind of had, transport to fetch people, and there were buses that were organized. It's like, we're going to meet here. And if this is, it was well organized. It was what happens
I think that's the thing. I feel like what you're just saying speaks to how much corporate is implicated in the problems that we currently face. Because if they had an incentive to actually support a national shutdown when Zuma was president, why don't they have an incentive to support a national shutdown now that Cyril is president? And I think it also speaks to the back and forth we had recently around that clip that has to do with mental nudity.
Middle class people are incapable of independent thought because they're so reputationally paranoid and so fragile in terms of their careers. It's what I call mental nudism. How many people do you think would be naturists if there were no social constraint on the behavior at the beach? Quite a lot of people, right? The reason we don't is not because we wouldn't enjoy it, it's because of the social constraints on the behavior or the associations.
Why do people live in this lens of having these constraints?
It's called the Overton window in politics, that there's a very narrow area of acceptable discussion, usually defined in legal or economic terms. I would argue that a cabal of lawyers and economists have constructed a self-serving, seemingly consistent kind of mental framework for government and politics, which has led the practitioners of those disciplines to think that others outside those fields can be safely ignored.
Oh, yeah.
That for most people, they're not really living. Like we're just conforming to the system. Yeah. It's like we don't have enough bargaining power to actually make a decision based off of how we feel about things, because we're so intertwined in the system that we don't have the freedom to act.
There's no time to feel. Like, we don't have time to feel. And maybe it's because our time is priced less than what is supposed to be priced at, but we really do not have time to feel. Like, every time something happens, you move past it. You have to move past it. You don't have time to be like, oh damn, like this just happened and I'm trying to... No. Like, you need to move because time, everything else around you is moving, right? And I think that's what feeds into this shutdown. It's like the only way the shutdown works is if everything shuts down.
Exactly. So if some people do it and then some people
don't do it, it
it's-
doesn't
it's
work.
useless.
But then also, how do you get the people that are wary of, I don't want to lose my job because of the strike. I don't want to lose the little that I'm already
how do you strike
receiving.
that balance?
How
Yeah.
do you strike that balance to be like, okay, you will still have your job after this. It needs it needs corporates to buy in, but it does not seem like corporate is buying in. And I think because a lot of the problems that people are really worried about and fighting about are like problems that, like, corporate has electricity, bruh. Like the country has electricity. It's functioning. And the areas that matter have water, right? It only starts mattering when those people are affected. But the rest of us that are not in the nicer places, not in the places that are prioritized.
Exactly. That's why I feel like at the highest level, at the most macro level, corporate is complicit. And yeah, I think eventually, if we keep hinting at a national shutdown and it fails, and we keep hinting at, we need to have the gall to actually confront the system, and we don't, right? Then eventually people are just, because the destitute people are way more than the people that are in positions of power.
We actually do have the power. But
So they're just gonna, like, it's eat the rich, bro. Like, people are just gonna, I swear, like, people are just gonna get to a, like, I think we downplay.
But I don't think what you say. I don't think "eat the rich" is like a far away concept. I don't think
Exactly.
it's a foreign concept because I think it's already happening. It's just not happening
That's what
at
I'm
the
sa-
rate at which.
Yeah.
Like it could happen
Yeah,
worse. It's
yeah,
already happening.
Yeah. I mean, at the most highest level, because I think it's crazy what people can do if they have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And like, we're pushing more and more of our society into a
Yeah.
position where, like, they have nothing to
they're
lose
losing-
because
yeah.
they're not getting a seat at the table.
Yeah. And they're losing the things that they already have. It's not like people that have stuff are like maintaining it well. Like everybody's running on this, like we're all just running in this wheel and people are getting exhausted and losing the things that they were able to keep while they were running on the cycle.
Yeah.
So I hear you, Meshi.
Yeah,
What
you have like, sorry, just the last thought. Like, you have characters like former head of the World Economic Forum, Charles Schwab, who brings up concepts like you'll own nothing and be happy. That's not something to strive for. And it's crazy how much money, how many resources are being pushed towards trying to push that narrative for people to have that sort of idea embedded in their minds, whilst rich people own vast amounts of land, and because someone owns
I think was it you who sent me the video about how people like we're being moved into a world where we own nothing and everything is virtual and it's because ownership has power. Like when you own something, you have power. So the world is moving into, I hope I can find this video. We're moving into a world where you don't have to own a holiday home. You can Airbnb. You don't have to own a car. You can Uber,
see the intentionality behind
can-
content like that being
Yeah,
pushed, and it's
yeah.
like, no, man, like it's
Owning
important. It's important to own.
It's important for people to own their land as well.
Yeah.
Like it's very important.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else, Mishi?
I've been also thinking about how do I put this? Like being in spaces. Like being in spaces.
Ooh.
No matter how you look at it, just being in spaces, right? I've been thinking about how I've been in spaces right now that I've been in the past. But what's changed now is I'm just realizing that I've become big bro, right? And back then, I was little bro.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've just been thinking about that, and I wanted to ask you, like, have you felt like that in any way or any space where, at a certain point in time, you were the little sister.
Yeah.
And now you're like big sis. And like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Which it's crazy to me because like me growing up, I have 5 siblings and I'm second last. And so I have a little brother. And I've never felt like I was older sibling because my little brother and I are very close, like in age, but also like he had more freedoms than I had. Like, so he was almost like, we were almost like the same age, sort of. So I've never experienced like the age gap thing. But now, as I'm getting older, I'm experiencing that in the spaces that I go to. And it actually feeds into what I've been tapped into. So I'm glad you asked that question because I was away. I was on vacation. The kids are on vacation.
Clock it.
Clock it. And it was nice. Like, it was beautiful. Loved it down, right? And I'm going to get into that. But what I want to highlight with the question you just asked is like that trip highlighted the need for me to be big sister. To be big sister. And in what, like, because I think that there's a lot of, and why this platform is very, very important and very central into what I need to do. And I say that because life is big. There's a lot to experience. There's things that you're going to see that you never thought in your life you were going to see. There is a type of happiness you're still going to feel that, like, you have never experienced. You don't even have a word. You don't have a name for it. You haven't.
Yeah, it's so
seen
euphoric, you can't comprehend.
You cannot comprehend it. You have never seen it before, right? And it's a need for me to kind of say to the girlies, like, high school, varsity, like, firstly, school is important. Go to school. Don't let people lie to you. Like, do not let people lie to you. Go to school. The second thing is, like, there are far more important things than what you're worried about right now. Like, whatever you're worried about right now doesn't compare to the things you're going to see. It doesn't compare to the life that you're going to be exposed to if you keep true to yourself and you work hard. So I feel the need to say that because I think maybe people in my life said it and I didn't kind of, I was just like, oh,
it was
yeah.
corny. You know,
was
it's,
like, oh,
it's
yeah,
what
yeah,
you hear every day.
It's what I hear every day. But I promise you, my girlies, take yourself seriously. Leave the boys alone. Leave the boys alone. Take yourself seriously. There's things in this life that are bigger than whatever thing in your life is big right now. Even if you have experienced great things, there's bigger happiness. There's much more joy that you can experience. And it's because, like, I experienced that in this trip. I experienced so much happiness. And I was just with my girlfriends that I met in varsity that are doing well for themselves, that have money to spend and money to blow.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, bro. Like, yeah. A lot of young people, a lot of young Black females, a lot of young Black women. I know people don't like saying female, so I'm going to say young Black women need to tap in and they need to lock in and they need to be about their money. They need to be about their joy. They need to be about their happiness. Above all things that are being prioritized in our lives, prioritize that. Prioritize that for yourself because that will give you an experience that nobody else can give you. No other human can give you that experience. But yeah, that was me on my big sister tip.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you because, you know, for me, what was happening was I was realizing how I'm having certain conversations, right? And there's a certain level of wisdom that I have because of, like, the amount of time I've been exposed to things. And it's like, I can tell I'm engaging with someone that's less exposed, but I'm also still like, I haven't tapped into big bro.
Big bro,
So I'm having the conversation. And then once you're having the back and forth, you realize that, man, like, okay, my where I'm at right now transcends where we are. And like, I can contribute at an even higher level to this conversation that we're having right now. And yeah, for me, it was like, it's so amazing to not only like find yourself, but to act accordingly.
That's very important.
That's what I was thinking, and it speaks to what you were saying about like the importance of school, the importance of following your dreams, the importance of pursuing everything you want to pursue in life, because at a certain point, I mean, right now it's like you can look at it right now in retrospect and be like, oh, I'm living in like answered prayers, right? But it's also like everything else you're looking forward to, that should actually give you this understanding that like I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm living in answered prayers, and then there'll also always be like something else to pursue, right? I had this conversation years ago with someone after they had said something like, the greatest thing about hitting rock bottom is they like you can't go lower.
Yeah.
And I disputed that because I was like, you can hit rock bottom and you can fall further down into the abyss. Like if you just let yourself go, you know, like if
it doesn't trigger a change,
no,
some reaction from you.
Say you lose everything because of drugs. You know, you're an addict and you lose everything, right? And now you're like, I've lost everything. It can't get any worse, right? It can actually get worse. Like if you keep on taking the drugs, you can get sick. You can, like, your life can fall like
way worse.
People can disown you.
Yeah.
You know, like
You could become a mess. You could become like,
you know, it could. So I think it's the same when it comes to how high you can go in life, right? I think your life story is done, and that's why I also view success as not the stagnant thing where like you achieve success. It's like it's ongoing. So at this point, I am successful in certain contexts, but I'm still going to be more successful because there are things that I'm still pursuing.
Yep.
And then when I get there, there'll still be more things to
I
pursue, you know. And there are things that are obviously internal and what I want to achieve, but there's also just the impact that you can, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also how you can impact the world given the resources you have access to, the spaces you're in, and, you know, the kind of just things like how you can pass the baton down to someone else so that they can view the world not only from your lens, but use you as this yardstick to understand that they could do so much better.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I always like to look at from like, I think I just said a bunch of words, but I'm not putting them together right. But what I want to essentially say is when I look at kids that look up to me, whether I know they do or whether I don't know they do, is I want them to be able to achieve what I was able to achieve quicker. Like even when it's someone that I directly know, right, and they like do something and it's something that I was able to do, I'm so much happier. That for me is like a tick box. Like understanding that, you know, like I achieved this thing at 22, but look at this kid doing it at 19. I achieved this thing at 25. Now I've been able to lay a foundation where this kid is able to do it at 22. That means they're laying a foundation for someone else to do it even sooner, quicker. Yeah. You know, so it goes back to like the bandwagon effect of just you living in your purpose and you just pursuing your life dream, your life's work as much as you can, because the implications of that are just massive.
Fire. Fire.
Yeah. All good on my end.
Okay. I'll tap into what I've been tapped into, which we've kind of touched on. The first part was that like I was on my big sister tip. And it's like it's always weird because I've been in situations where people look at me and they're like, oh, I look up to you, and I'm like, hey, don't do that, right? Because I've been so scared of like being looked as that, because I feel like it has a level of maturity attached to it. It has a lot of responsibilities that are attached to it, and I don't think I've kind of mastered certain things well enough for me to be looked at in that way. But I think it's also important, to what you're saying, to step into the role of the person that you are, because you don't have to have it all figured out, but you are figuring it out. And some of the things that you have figured out could make somebody's equation much easier to solve, right? The puzzle much quicker, the pieces much quicker to find and to put together. And we shouldn't be shying away from that responsibility that comes with it, even just from the fact that we are existing in the way that we are. That is enough to help somebody else. That is enough to be an example for somebody else. Somebody did they DM me or send me a message and they're like, oh, I want to be like you when I grow up, and just like, I'm like, I don't think you should do that. But to be fair, I think I'm not a bad, there are people that are doing things that I wouldn't want some people to be doing, that are being looked at as heroes or that are being looked at as models. And I do not think I'm a bad model compared to those people. So therefore, if those people can step into those roles and be models and model certain things that I do not necessarily agree with, or I don't think young girls should be doing, then I should be able to step into mine and be like, yo, I'm stepping into this. It is not, I haven't figured it out yet fully, but here it is. And here is what I've been able to figure out to this extent. Learn it now while you still have the opportunity, because I learned it later on when I could have learned it earlier.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and there's just acknowledging that, I mean, it's dangerous. And I've spoken about, like, I want it open to interpretation. I wouldn't want anyone to look at me and be like, I want to mimic, because no, I know I'm the most imperfect person ever, right? But what I also understand is kids are always gonna look up to you, you know, for various reasons. So you're better off trying your best to have them want to pursue great things.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna look up to you.
Yeah.
So it's like it's very dangerous to pursue things that aren't that great and just say, yo, it's my life.
Yeah.
It's actually very selfish,
Yeah.
because you have people that are gonna look up to you. I've had instances, and this is like after high school, and like someone was telling me like how they looked up to me, but it was, I hated how they were looking up to me, you know? And it's like, I like that they were looking up to me. I was like, oh, good. It's good that I'm someone you can look up to. But I hated how they articulated why
they looked up
why they looked up to me. I felt a sense of guilt. Like, okay, you know, I need to change.
Do better.
Yeah, because I can't say no. You know, because
don't look up to me, because it's not your choice.
It's not my choice.
It's not your choice.
Because I've never really had a direct mentor. You know, my mentor, but I've always had mentors, right? And sometimes I look at it like I can't access this mentor because they are either dead or they are in a completely different part of the world, or I just can't access them.
Yeah.
So even if I try to DM, they're probably gonna mize me. So I learn from their lives. I learn from their mistakes. I learn from the books they've written or the blogs they've written.
The interviews.
The interviews
whatever.
they have, their perspectives. Okay, so because one who could do things like this, I like Principles by Ray Dalio very much, because he writes all his life's principles, like all the mistakes he's made. And one of the principles he had that I thought about when you were talking was, if you're worried, don't worry. If you're not worried, worry. You know?
Because
And
if you're worrying about what can go wrong, chances are you will create the protections against that thing going wrong, and therefore that's good. And if you're not worrying about the things that are going to go wrong, then they'll probably, the things you never expect are going to come and hit you. Okay? And so it sounds counterintuitive. If you worry, you don't have to worry. And if you don't worry, you better worry.
when you were talking about the not worrying is if you're worried, then you're gonna make the kind of choices that will ensure that whatever you're worried about works out.
Yeah.
But if you're not worried, you should be worried because you're probably sleepwalking through life and life will come at you hard.
And you, without you expecting
Yes.
it. without
Yes.
you expecting it.
Yes.
So I think, big chats, big chats. And
Yeah.
I think I'm also like, I'm getting older in a couple of months. And it's like, I'm embracing that like, I'm big sis too, you know?
Yeah.
And it's okay to be big sis.
Yeah.
And just being on that big sis tip as well. Obviously, I was on vacation, had time to do my devotions. And a story that came up while doing one of my devotions, which is a story that has been told before. It's not new, it's in the Bible. But it just sparked something in me. So it's a story of Esau. He is known for selling his birthright to his brother for lentil soup.
Sure.
Right? And we talk, like, when people usually speak about the story, they talk about how, like, you could be so careless and you could give up something so valuable for nothing, because whatever, right? You don't see how valuable what you got is, and all of that is true. We are talented more than we can think. We're able to do greater things than what we think we can, and sometimes we easily exchange those things for whatever is available, right? But I think a twist that I picked up while I was doing it this time around was the fact that the devil knows what to ask from you. And you might not know it, but he knows what's valuable in you and what to ask for. And at every little convenience he gets, he's going to ask for that thing. So if you are a great speaker and you speak well and you're able to articulate yourself well, whether you know it or don't know it, the devil knows.
Yeah.
And he's going to ask you to give that up for very little things. If he can't make you, like,
I hear you fully.
so the higher you value what you've got in your hands, the higher the devil will sell it or will try to exchange the thing for. It's almost like currency. Now, if you don't value, if you don't know what you have in your hands, the devil can sell it for as little as nothing. And it's not, unfortunately, it's not the devil's fault for selling it for chappies, right? It is your fault for not knowing how valuable the thing you're holding is. And when you talk about Esau's birthright, right? Like, Isaac was so rich.
Yeah.
He had so much, and he had given all of that. His plan was to give all of that to Esau because he had the stature. He was built to lead. He had the presence of somebody who could lead.
The aura.
The aura.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He had the aura of somebody who could lead. But he didn't see how valuable that was. And it was easy to exchange that for soup. He said, I'm going to die anyway. Like, what's the use of this birthright if I die?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even matter. And it's easy to look at Esau and judge him for that, but we do that every single day in our lives. Like, some of us don't even know what our gifts are. Some of us know what our gifts are, and we just don't use them. We exchange them for comfort. We exchange them for TikTok, for Instagram. Let me spend a little bit of an hour on
For
Instagram.
clout, yes.
Yeah, we exchange it for clout because it will give me, because I can make jokes very well and I can make fun of MASH and people can laugh about MASH. It's fine, I can sell that, but you could be doing so much better with that gift. You could be doing so much, you could be building up so much there is so much wealth attached to the gift that you hold that you're selling it out for something that is worth so little. And if only you could see how big of the things you've been promised, of how big the thing you're holding could be, maybe you wouldn't sell it as much. But the trick of life is you don't know, and you've got to move with faith. And you've got to move with the knowing, even when you cannot see, the understanding, even when you cannot see, that I hold something valuable. And so I actually want us to think about that. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think is the thing that the devil wants the most from you? And why do you think he wants that specific thing? Like, why do you think you are attacked in this specific way every single time? Why do you think that particular part of your life is important? Because I've thought about that. And for me, I've realized that like, for me, there was a period of my life where when I was younger, I speak about this so many times on the pod that I think I was so much more confident. I think I was way more intelligent. Like I was just on another, I don't know, like, and
The older you get, the smarter you don't get.
The older you get, the smarter you don't get.
What do you mean?
The younger you get, the smarter you get.
And so I think that I had, for a long time, a period of time, I had this fear of being seen. And I was like, why? Like, now that I have this thing, I'm like, why don't I want to be seen?
Mm.
Like, why don't I want to take up space? Why don't I want, why is my visibility an issue? Because everybody's visible. Everybody's there. Why is my visibility an issue? And I've sat down with that and I've figured it out for myself. And it has opened up certain things that I've been able to be like, oh, okay, now we go, right? But I urge people to think about that. Like, urge you to think deeply about what is your lentil soup? What are you exchanging for that lentil soup? What are you exchanging for TikTok, for Instagram, for clout, for people to like you, for conformity, for things to be comfortable? What are you exchanging? Because you might find that what you're exchanging is so much bigger than what you're receiving for.
Yeah.
So think about it as currency. Value it more than you. The point is not to sell it because it's invaluable, but maybe you might not want to exchange it for the little things that are in front of you.
Yeah, that's profound.
That's what I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's profound. I was thinking about very, very closely related to that because I'm not thinking of like the exact thing I could say like, yo, this is under attack, right? In terms of just my life, but something I've been thinking about was how my life has unfolded, right? The randomness that is my life, right? And I was thinking about all the things that I desperately wanted that didn't work out. And they didn't work out because I think there's dealing with these two sort of extremes. Like on the one end, there's everything that I'm capable of. But then on the other end, there's everything that I need to do in the world, right? And sometimes what I'm capable of can make me get so much from a monetary standpoint, but it's not what I'm necessarily in the world for, And there's that dynamic where I'm like, I was thinking about it like, I like things that aren't necessarily, I like things because I am able to like do them and I have perhaps the skills, right? But then the extent to which I don't like the cost of pursuing those things means that I'm never going to get an opportunity to pursue those things because they go against my moral standing, they go against what I represent in the world, And the cost of that is dire. And that speaks to, the devil you speak of, because it's like, it's shiny, bro. It's that ice cream has a lot of nice, it's got a lot of sugar, bro. And I just want to lick it, but I can't, So yeah, very interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah. And with that, before I actually say that, I just want to, if you have time, right? I know people believe in different things, but the stories in Genesis are about Esau. And to just try and read that story, like if you're watching this, just go read the story. Don't read it as if you're reading a spiritual book. Read it as if you're reading a story. Because Esau comes from Abraham. Abraham was promised literally like everything.
Sure.
Right? Isaac as well became so rich that he had to be moved. Like he had so much. This was everything that had to belong to Esau.
Yeah.
But he sold that in the face of physical hunger. What are you selling your birthright for? What are you exchanging your birthright for? Right? Yeah. But anyway, question of the week for you, Meshi. I see you. You've been in the streets being a delegate and doing nice, proper things. I thought Mesh, by the way, posted a picture this week or last week, and he said Madanga Commission, and I actually believed him. I was like, bro,
Yeah, you're dangerous. You're dangerous, and you're not the only one, bro. It became scary when like I got texts from like my uncle, and he's like, what's happening?
But it's because all of these people know that you can be at Madanga Commission level, so that's like big ups. I think the one thing I want to ask you, because of just the past couple of weeks you've been having, what is the one takeaway that you've taken from all these different forums that you've been sitting on, from all these, really, posh spaces you've been in? What have you kind of taken out for yourself or for everybody else?
I mean, there are a couple. I'll try speak of the things that come top of mind. But one is definitely the big bro thing I was talking about, right? Secondly is, bro, South Africa is an amazing country. I was with young change makers from other countries. I was the only one from South Africa. So the other guys from Uganda, Ethiopia, Ghana, as well as DRC, right? And the guy from DRC is currently based in Kenya because he's a refugee, because the MR21 rebels have infiltrated where he comes from. Yeah. So he hasn't even been able to study. So like, I was even having a conversation with one of the people from the institute, where like when she was like telling me like, like your contribution is like the best, right? And I was like number one of the 5, and this is out of like many contributions globally, right? But like of the 5, I was like number one. And I was like telling her like, yo, like I feel a certain type of way because number 2 was the guy from DRC, right? And I was like, yo, for me, he's better because I'm thinking about the circumstances through which he had to do whatever he did. And then she's like, no, don't think about it like that, bro. Like this just speaks to your greatness and how great you are. He's great, and that speaks to how great he is, right? So I think one is that. And like I was having conversations with all these people, and the guy from Uganda kept emphasizing that, bro, South Africans, you have so much freedom. As we're walking around Pretoria, like the headquarters is in Pretoria. And that's that's the gift and the curse of being a South African. Being in perhaps the best country in the African context means you host a lot of things, so you don't get to, fly out and all of that. But like, he was like, bro, you guys have so much freedom, our president has been sitting since the 60s and he's gonna run again. And we
DRC too.
So I think that something else that I was thinking of is, I mean, the picture was not Photoshop. So I got invited to the DIRCO, Department of International Relations, Corporation and whatever. Yeah, but like the one that Ronald Lamola leads. So I was at, so it's sort of like Parliament, the setup where you have your own mic and like, so I was sitting in a place like that, and then the guy that was next to me took a picture. So I had asked him to airdrop me the picture. So I was like, oh, posted the picture on my story, and then I was like appearing at the Mazanga Commission, and yeah, that's what happened. But what I realized there is, and with that, like, I was amongst the oldest people there as well. But what I realized there is, like, we're having conversations, bro. Like, we have all these grand ideas, we have smart ideas, but it's like, we really need to get things done. Like generations and generations have been talking. So that's another big takeaway, from being in all these spaces. Like, let's get things done, bro. Like,
execution.
Yes,
mode.
let's hold people accountable that need to be held accountable. Like, let's have these conversations. Yes, let's be in these spaces, hold these conversations, but let's get things done.
Cool. I heard you, Meshi. With that, we say
Peace out for the peace out.